New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
Jerry Troyer right here.
And this is New Thought today for July 8th. Oh my gosh, July already. And it feels it outside my walls, I'll tell you that. But it's July. Yes. It's New Thought today. It happens every Tuesday. And our guest today is Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer. We're going to tell you a whole lot more about him as we go along here today. But we do want you to also know that you're welcome to chat along, chime along, ask questions, any of that good old stuff in the chat box as you go along today. And we're happy to include you in the conversation. So, Dr. Jerry, I feel like we've known each other more than long enough. I don't even know where to begin to how to say how instrumental I think you are to the New Thought movement. So I'm just going to let you do it and help our audience know, tell everybody a little bit more what they need to know about you so we can jump into this conversation today.
Thank you very much, and great to be back with you. A great pleasure. So, well, let's see. So my late husband and I found New Thought in about 1993. Went through the classes, took a 2-year detour to Boston for a job transfer and promotion. Was a wonderful adventure. Then came back to San Diego, which is where I am right now and where I was born and raised. Then went through practitioner training, ministerial training, took over the center where I learned everything from my beloved mentor and teacher, Reverend Dr. Marilyn Hall in 2007. Did that for a few years. The center wound up dissolving and have been an independent minister ever since. I serve a CSL congregation called the OM Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, east of San Diego, and then also guest speak around the country, and I'll talk much more about that. Also, the board president, my great pleasure to be the board president of Anton, the affiliated New Thought Network, which is a membership organization of centers and churches and individuals. And speaking to you live and direct today from Urban Street Angels in downtown San Diego, which is a program that assists homeless 18 to 24-year-olds with housing, employment, schooling, trade school enrollment, and helping them move into the next chapter of their lives.
And folks, we're going to talk to Dr. Jerry about all of these things today because I think you're a great example in what you just shared of how you do the work on that kind of individual level. And in this case, as an independent traveling New Thought minister, and I know you will pardon the pun, you get around, as it were, to other places.
I do. Yeah.
But then you take it one step further and you're in leadership at the organizational level within New Thought, and taking this philosophy out into the streets, into the real world, into the, dare I say, nitty gritty of it all out in the world. So I'm excited to be able to hear a little bit more about all of this. So let's jump in with the idea of, so independent ministry. so many of us, and we talk about this, we're surrounded by organizations. There's so many different organizations these days, and some of them, the ones that kind of do the licensing of ministers, might have a tendency to exclude people that don't have the right license and the right this or the right that. And as an independent minister, what's been your experience of navigating between the various branches, if you will, of New Thought?
You're absolutely right. And I believe that in 2025, we've come a long way in that regard, because we, the collective we, ideally are beginning to realize that. I spoke at a CSL center last Sunday. In 2 weeks, I'm going to speak at a Unity church, and I'm going to say basically, no, not basically, I'm going to say the same thing, because we really do. We all speak the same language, and many of us will remember back in the day when, before CSL, it was United Church of Religious Science and Religious Science International, and there's no judgment here. It's just two separate organizations, believe the same thing, spoke the same language, but somehow we're separate. And so what I know for us is we're continuing to evolve and recognize that we, and I'll include divine science in that as well, really do say the same things, and how cool it is to come together and celebrate our similarities, recognizing that our differences is a really short list that gets shorter and shorter every year. So I love going in as a religious science person to a Unity church, or an independent person to a CSL center. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things now that's needed more than ever is this separation idea, right? Because all these organizations are great and they teach the same core principles, if you will, thoughts of things, and but as we look at the organizations, there are slight differences in organizational structure and approach to teaching these ancient wisdom principles. It begins to just set up another situation where people can say, oh, there's a difference here, and we're going to be against these guys, so forth and so on. And the further away we can get from that and just stick with the principles, I think we're going to be way ahead of the game,
Absolutely agree. And every time we do that, I feel like we're missing out on the richness, because if all I know is Ernest Holmes, I'm missing out on Merlin Charles Fillmore of Unity and Melinda Kramer from Divine Science. And there's so much richness and so much knowledge and so much love to be gained from allowing ourselves to look at all of that. First of all, recognizing we're not the only ones here, which can be a shock to the system, right? You mean there's new thought beyond my property line? There really is, and it brings me the most amazing richness and the amazing opportunities to meet wonderful people and to expand my vision. So yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk later about Anton, the affiliated New Thought Network, and that's exactly what we're about, is bringing all these different organizations together and again, luxuriating in our oneness and our similarities, and recognizing that it's a really short list of differences.
Yeah, beautifully said. We recently, I got to be careful what I say here, folks, because there's like this super secret video that just went around, and LZ, I'm sorry you don't have access to it. Maybe I'll tell you about it sometime. But Jerry and I do, and it was a public panel discussion around some of the earlier parts of Anton. And this is no real secret, folks. I'm just having a little fun with you. But the point that was being brought forward was that if we look at it from a perspective of, we come to New Thought through however we're going to find it, it becomes home. And in a lot of ways, our first teacher become like mom or dad, or maybe both, or they become a parent figure in our lives. And whether it's the philosophy or whether it's the dynamic nature of the preacher, it becomes like home. And for some, we never get up, we never grow up and leave home. And I don't want to say don't grow up, but we don't leave home. And then others come out into the world and walk away, get away from home a little bit and start to explore. And we find these other traditions, and we find where New Thought exists in places we didn't understand or didn't know or were completely oblivious to. Right. And I think, in religious science, coming up in religious science, we didn't teach an awful lot about Johnny Colemon. Now, right. Once you get outside of religious science, it's hard to turn around and not have somebody teaching you a little something about Johnny Colemon and what she was able to accomplish in New Thought. And as a religious science guy, it's like, whoa, my eyes are open to a whole new world.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, in the recognition that I'm in this group and all there is this group. But that's not the truth. And then once I allow myself to expand just a little, I see, all this other richness that I was missing out on. Right.
Right. And, you got and there are people like, there was this show back in the day, Touched by an Angel. That starred Della Reese. Right, who was a Unity minister, if I'm not mistaken, and that whole show was steeped in New Thought traditions and so there's so many ways to apply these principles or present them to the public that we have to get beyond our boxes.
Yes. And I don't know if I'm jumping the gun or not, but I have the first, so I'll go ahead and say it. Because I was thinking about, so one of the questions was, what does the future of New Thought hold? And I would suggest the future for us must include allowing ourselves to meet people where they are. A big part of my ministry has to do with talking about our human experience and allowing ourselves to experience what we're going through and feel what we feel. I just, and you might be familiar with the terms spiritual bypass and toxic positivity. And so my heart is breaking. And so I come to a New Thought church and walk in, and I spend some time with a practitioner afterwards, and the practitioner, the minister says, well, everything is in divine order. Everything is as it should be. It's all good. Don't worry, be happy. And I want to lift my middle finger on my right hand, but instead I go screaming out the door because I have not been served. I've not been ministered to. I've been hit over the head with a Science of Mind textbook and told it'll be all right. This is huge for me because my husband made his transition in 2018, and I really had a struggle coming to terms with allowing myself to grieve.
Yeah.
And I would suggest for us that there throughout our life, whenever there's a change, whether we expected it, whether we consciously chose it or not, there can be the opportunity to grieve. And we need to allow ourselves to do that, to feel the hurt, to feel the anger, to feel the loss, so that we can move forward beyond that. And so we as a religious organization, or as a movement, for lack of a better word, we're not serving our people if we don't allow them to feel the grief and the loss. So that's the big, in just about all my workshops, that's something that I talk about.
Yeah. And I spoke briefly about Della Reese there and unity, but you said it earlier, Robert. She was ordained under UFBL under Johnny Coleman, and she also got ordained in Unity, and then she went and started her own center, understanding the principles of Better Living Church, right?
Yeah.
And so when we look at and Johnny Coleman's thing was not positive toxicity. Her thing was it works if you work it, which means you got to get in there and do something. This is not, things go up, things go down, and you got to work this thing. And that's what we have to, I think, emphasize now is that as Ernest put it, you have to treat and move your feet, which means the same thing. You got to pray, but then you got to go do some work.
Right.
And he even put in for both sides of the coin, if you will, because there was the normal treatment, and then there was the negative or the argumentative aspect of treatment that we don't hear much about that, but that is something that he advocated that says sometimes I got to get over here in the down and dirty, if you will, and I got to work this thing out.
Yeah.
Right. And especially today, especially with everything that's going on, especially with the fear and the anger and all the rest of that, how important it is for us to look at our relationship with our higher power, God, Spirit, the universe, the infinite, the divine, and ask ourselves, what do we really believe about this? And if it's not serving us, to go back to basics and change our minds. Yes.
Yeah. Our brother Raymond is with us today, chiming in from all the way from the East Coast. And absolutely, Raymond, yes, effective grieving is a spiritual practice. I hear.
Yes, it's great to see you, at least virtually. Thanks for being with us. Absolutely.
And if we actually embodied it, the prayer and the action would be indistinguishable. Our life would be our amen. Yes, absolutely. And that's why I love our opportunities to get together and discuss these types of things and have these types of conversations and open the field of what is possible, not just like the big things, but to have the conversations that say, hey, and this little piece, because by adding to this, we're coming to a clearer distinction, a clearer discernment of how New Thought really can impact the future, impact our daily lives, make life better today. And we've been having this conversation a little while here on this show now for a few years, actually. Interestingly enough, I just had an experience this past week, and over the last week or so, a conversation developed between a bunch of New Thought ministers, and it led me to a Substack post. And it led me to be able to share and articulate my understanding, my exploration of the topic, if you will, without trying to make anybody wrong, without saying, hey, I'm going to dive into the deep part of this argument and argue this point with you, but to be able to present what I believe of New Thought in a fairly concise manner, I trust. I invite you all to be the judge of that. You can go read it on my Substack. But ultimately, what I kind of hear you saying, Jerry, and what I want to circle around with here a little bit more is the days of just raising my individual consciousness and or those around me is over. And we have to now activate and actualize these beliefs, this philosophy, through our hands, through our hearts, in the real world, in the streets, in the voting booths, in our town council meetings, wherever we find ourselves.
We absolutely do, because from a purely practical standpoint, for those of us that attend a center or church on Sunday, we haven't come back from COVID. And so the numbers are lower and lower. There are a lot of people that look like me in the room, and so our congregations are getting older without growing and without reaching our younger people, and it's so important that we do that. And by the way, be able to verbalize what we believe. Do we have, I remember from my days in the business world, you had an elevator pitch. So I'm going from the parking garage to the 15th floor. So what do you believe? So what is religious science? What is New Thought? Can we verbalize it without having whoever's listening to us have their eyes roll back in their heads? Can we explain what we believe in English that other people will explain? Because if not, New Thought is religious science, which is Scientology, which is airy-fairy and New Age and all the rest of that. And that's not what this is, but how important it is for us to be able to verbalize it.
Yep. I know.
Yeah. Boxes that I'll come back down off of.
Yeah, and that's why for me anyway, when I look at these teachings, no matter how they come out in the New Thought, there's always that foundational piece, I think, that said that this is an ancient wisdom. So this type of way of living, this way of observing the universe and acting and having the universe respond is an ancient teaching, way before any of these labels we've given it. And that's why in those eras, they were given as principles and axioms and parables and myths and metaphors, so that we wouldn't get them all confused with some label. We're going to give it to you in a way that you can interject yourself into this story, if you will, or this situation, and begin to activate all these different parts of ourselves, so that, as we always say, so that we can awaken that infinite wisdom, God, higher power, whatever it is that's already in us. And when we hit the right conditions to resonate with that, or awaken it or aliven it within ourselves, then things happen.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, Jerry, I do know that your work in the world, and we're going to talk more about Urban Street Angels before we're done today, folks. Don't worry about that. That's coming up in our second segment today. However, before we get there, I do want to talk a bit about the Affiliated New Thought Network and Anton. So I've been on and I don't think anybody on the network is clouded by this. I've been on a journey of exploration of Anton for a handful of years now, and it's I feel it's a great and amazing organization, mostly because it's based on some different principles than the organizations that are doing all the licensing and saying who is allowed and who isn't allowed. Anton's a bit different, and you're the president. You've been the president for as long as I've been around, which means you're probably almost term limited out by now. But
two more years, and that's it. Yes, thank you.
We might have to rewrite the bylaws for you. I don't know, but tell us a bit more about your role there and what drew you to Anton, the Affiliated New Thought Network. What was it that got you to say, yeah, all right, I'll step up and do some heavy lifting around here? Because I know the work you do is heavy lifting around there.
Thank you. So when we found the center, the New Thought Center for Creative Living in San Diego in 1992, the senior minister there was one of the founders of Anton. So she was working on creating this organization with several other people. So it's been in the background of my mind really ever since I first found this teaching. And then attended a couple of conferences, and gee, this is really cool. And then worked as office administrator for a couple of years, and then was invited to come on the board in, that would have been about 2021. And then was invited to be the president of the organization. But so we are very different, and thankfully we've come a long way. But people used to think I can be CSL, or I can be Unity, or I can be Anton. And the truth is, you can be more than one. You can be CSL and Anton. You can be Unity and Anton, because we don't license, we don't ordain, we don't hold a business license or a 501c3 for anybody. We are a membership organization of New Thought centers, churches, and individuals. So ministers, practitioners, licensed Unity teachers, and everybody else. So you don't need any alphabet soup behind your name to be qualified to be an Anton member. But this organization just absolutely makes my heart sing in so many ways. And the top of the list is because of the people. We gather October 6th through the 10th this year at Unity Village outside of Kansas City. And it really is the family reunion. I absolutely feel in my heart. And without Anton, I would not know these two gentlemen that I'm with on this event today. I would not know so many people in my life that just bring me so much joy and richness and love and gratitude. So it's just the greatest thing in the world. But again, it's religious science, it's CSL, independent religious science, CSL, Unity, divine science, UFBL. All of these amazing people come together in one room and share ideas and possibilities. And so we as an organization do a monthly Thought Leader Thursday, the last Thursday of each month. We do a prayer call throughout the month. We do the event. We do workshops. We just have a lot of really cool things going on for the New Thought community.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. It's a huge part of what I love being a part of Anton. I could go on for days about why I love being a part of Anton, but we do need to take a break, folks. We're going to come back with more with Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer, my co-host, Reverend Elzia Sekou, and myself. This is New Thought Today. Don't go away. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Let your friends and family know what we're doing. We'll be back in just a couple minutes with more. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Convention of the Americas 2025, Rising Together. Join us for a truly bilingual retreat experience on the shores of the beautiful Lake Chapala, Mexico. July 22nd through July 26th, 2025, at the Hotel Villa Monte Carlo in Jalisco, Mexico. Featuring Reverend Jeffrey Ryan, Dr. Jose de Lira Sosa, Reverend Dr. Kathy Ann Lewis, Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, and Reverend Dr. David Bruner. Registration is now open, and payment plans are available. Simply visit www.conventionoftheamericas.com. Come be part of a transformative gathering with powerful presentations, workshops, networking time, and just good old relaxing and connecting. Plus, you can learn more about the science of mind and how to live this powerful philosophy in your life. Transform your life at Convention of the Americas 2025, Rising Together.
And we're back with more of New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. Our special guest today, Reverend Dr. Jerry Troyer, currently the president of the affiliated New Thought Network. And as we're going to talk about in a little bit, very instrumental in an organization called Urban Street Angels. But before we get to that, I want to touch in on the retreat just a little bit because as you saw in the commercial roll there, folks, right? New Thought Media Network will be in Mexico in a few weeks for the Convention of the Americas, but we also partner with affiliated New Thought Network for their annual conference, convention, retreats, family gathering, and I always like to share this, Jerry, because in 2020, as New Thought Media Network is moving from an idea to conception of some sort, there was always the phrase New Thought in there. And I often questioned myself that I don't know that many people in New Thought. I know a lot of people in CSL. I know a lot of people in religious science, but I don't know that many people in the greater movement. And Anton has been that place from the very beginning that said, hey, let us help. How can we help you connect? How can we help you get connected with others in the movement, in the organization? And here we are a handful of years later, and we have divine science programming on our network, and we have a number, quite a few Anton members have programs on the network with New Thought Media, and that's part and parcel to this organization's belief as the vision statement says, connecting the New Thought movement in compassion and love. And you've been doing that. Anton's been doing that. And we're going to keep doing that. And I think the best way we do that is at Unity Village, at the retreat, at the family reunion in October. So tell everybody a little bit more about that. And you've been going a number of years longer than I have. So you know a bit more of the history, but tell us all a little bit about why that's so special.
Mm-hmm. So we started because as I recall, all of our founders were from California and probably Southern California. We started doing an annual gathering at Lake Arrowhead in Big Bear, and then moved to the Franciscan Renewal Center in Phoenix. And for about the last probably 7 years, maybe 8 years, we've been at Unity Village outside of Kansas City. If you have never been, if it is on your bucket list, this is the year to take it off your bucket list and make it a reality. And I'll talk much more about this, but this is the most beautiful, the most amazing, spiritual, inspirational place. First of all, the Unity people over time have been so amazingly welcoming and inclusive and gracious with us. It's just the greatest thing. There is a 50-room, I think there's 50-room hotel there that is full. It fills up. So while we're there at the retreat this year, we'll be making reservations for next year so that we get a room, because the rooms are extraordinarily beautiful. But there's also a Holiday Inn Express about half a mile away. So if you don't get to sleep at Unity Village, we run a van back and forth every morning and every evening so you can come and be. But the grounds are amazing. The food is outstanding. And you can't always say that. If you've been to a conference before, you might not be able to say that. But the food every year, because we like to eat, and the food every year is extraordinary. The music is wonderful this year. Ricky Byers is our musical director. We have keynote speakers, including, and this is big for us, Reverend Dr. Sonny Cantrell Smith, who is the executive director of Centers for Spiritual Living, CSL. So love that she'll be back with us. Reverend Dr. Martha Creek, who everybody loves and adores. There we go. And then Tuesday night, we'll be welcoming everyone in the newly remodeled Goppert Center, which is this event center at Unity Village. And we're inviting all the New Thought, so CSL and Independence and Unity congregations from the Kansas City area to come and be part of this amazing concert and gathering. So we're really excited about that. Other keynote speakers, including, I think, Reverend Dr. Robert, you're up. Yes.
Yep, I got one.
Awesome. So some wonderful workshops, including one by me, some wonderful power talks, just an amazing time together. And one of the things that we as an organization do that I'm so proud of is this. Hold on. This will be the 4th year that we have reached out into the Kansas City community, because we're there every year, because we feel such a heart-centered attachment. This will be the 4th year that we will be honoring and financially supporting a nonprofit from the Kansas City area. And ideally the name will come to me before we finish today. But we supported Hillcrest Transitional Living. We supported the Sewing Labs. We supported, there's one other, and this year is an organization that works with foster families and
Foster Connect. Foster
Connect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And so Monday night, they will come in and give a short presentation talking about who they are and what they do, and then we will take a special offering for them. So this is such an amazing, such a heart-centered experience, and you're in the same room with, you're rubbing elbows with CSL people and independent religious science people and unity people, and again, luxuriating in this oneness and this feeling of commonality. It's just the greatest thing. If you've not been before, and even if you have, I so invite you to go on our website, antn.org, for more information. And the early bird discount for registration is on until the end of July. So today would be a great day for you to go on and register.
Amen. Yes, yes, yes. I also really love that we're able to give back to the greater community, because over the last number of years, representatives come in on Monday night and they present to us and they show us who we are, who they are, and invariably, and they always come back at the end of the week for the banquet to say thank you, and we give them a nice big check and round up as much as we can to support them. And invariably, they always come back and they've gotten to know us a little bit better, and they've gotten to know New Thought a bit better. And we're not pushing it down their throat. We're not making them take a class. We're saying, hey, we just love what you're doing to be good stewards, to be good people in your community, and we're going to help a little bit. And what I know that goodwill is returning back to us.
No question. Absolutely no question. Yes.
Yeah. It's I say this often to to different friends. It's really fun to be a part of a healthy community, and I can judge that by the contributions and the way Anton is able to financially support and contribute to organizations, to individuals, to the greater movement of New Thought. Yep. So it's a major inspiration.
Yeah, and the key there for me is community. Right.
Yes.
I mean,
right.
No, as the old adage goes, no person is an island. All these statements of "I did it myself," I would beg to differ. There was somebody's shoulders you stood on, somebody that gave you a drink of water when you was about to give up. There's always someone as a part of the greater community that supports each other as we rise in greatness and awareness and service and all the things that we need to create a healthy universe.
Yeah.
Really quickly, it just came to me in a blinding flash. The other organization is GIFT, and I forget what GIFT stands for, but they provide small grants and business counseling and guidance to African-American owned businesses in Kansas City. We supported them last year. They came and visited with us. It's just the greatest thing. So it so touches my heart that we as an organization and as a community reach out and support these organizations in Kansas City.
And before we run out of time, so from
Mhm.
Kansas City, just let's go back to San Diego because I don't want to run out of time. And I think that this is in many ways just such an amazing program. I have had no idea about Urban Street Angels until I met you, Jerry. You're the director of relationship development for an organization there in San Diego, Urban Street Angels. It's another nonprofit, but you're on the board. I know you're very instrumental. Fill us in. What do we need to know to get started in that conversation?
So Urban Street Angels, we've been around for 13 years. We provide temporary bridge housing, employment referrals, trade school programs, education referrals, and most importantly, hope to homeless transition age youth ages 18 to 24. The building where I am speaking to you from, we have 70 young people that live here for between 4 and 9 months, depending on their needs. We also have about 75 in La Mesa in eastern San Diego County. And next month, we will be adding a new facility in North San Diego County in Vista with another 21 beds. So these are young people, 18 to 24-year-olds. They've aged out of foster care. They were in an abusive situation at home and wound up being either housing insecure or living on the streets. They came out to their family as LGBTQ plus and were rejected. Just something happened and there was no home to stay in. And so we were able to take them in and help them realize that their past need not determine their future. So it's the greatest thing in the world because obviously this is near and dear to my heart, and I get to be a New Thought minister, and the youth I'm talking to don't even know it. But of course, we talk the language every single moment of every single day, and so it's just the greatest thing. So I've been around since 2012. Growing, continuing to grow. There's about 1,500 homeless 18 to 24-year-olds in San Diego. And so we serve about 10%. And our intention is to always be growing, always be expanding with the ultimate goal of being out of business because we're no longer needed. That is our ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So just an amazing program.
And that's no, I was just going to say, I'll let you finish. And I was just going to say, that's a multifaceted operation to deal with homeless young people and employment. And then I'll just make you finish up and I'll make a statement.
So we have a trade school program that's funded in part by the San Diego Padres Foundation. Padres, of course, being our ball club here. So we graduated 45 youth last year as CNAs and EMTs and cosmetologists and FAA drone pilots. Just amazing opportunities for our young people. And again, to help them to find that job, to earn the money, to be able to graduate from here and move to their first apartment.
Yeah, and I had a foray into homelessness in one of my former lives when I lived in New York. And the four key things that back then is probably the same now that was a hard corner to turn was the ability to have their basic needs met, right? It's hard to get an employment if you don't have a permanent address or you can't get your basic sleep, shower stuff, storing your stuff, and which eventually starts affecting your health, either physical or mental. And so it creates this spiral if no one can step in and give that uplift for these young people who are bright, have lots of skills, lots of everything to provide, but they just need that platform to be launched from. And so I love that, what you guys are doing. And it's so needed. We need to duplicate that in every major city, at least. and then go to the rural areas next.
Yes, and more than 50% of the chronically homeless people who were surveyed said they were homeless at this age. So between 18 and 24. And so we believe that this is how we break the cycle of homelessness, is to get them off the streets and into a program with a case manager, with a peer support person, with that guidance so that they can move forward.
It's we're back to one of our themes here today, right, folks? It's no man's an island, and we're not doing this alone. The age of the lone wolf is over. That these kids, and we say kids, but these young adults, this is the key time to give them the most help. And for many, it is that point where we know that the experience is there. Okay, you're 18. Here's a set of luggage. Good luck. Off you go.
Good luck, right?
And that's not realistic for all families. And more, I don't think it's realistic for any individual to just be, here you go, good luck at the age of 18. So for those where that is their experience, it's great to know there's a safe space, a landing space, support to help. And I'm with Elzia. With all the traveling you do, Jerry, maybe this is a fit. You just need to seed an urban street angel in all the various cities you visit.
We can absolutely do that. This program would fit perfectly in Denver and Chicago and Dallas and Seattle and all of those places. Absolutely. Yes. Yep.
Beautiful. What would be one of the challenges you think you've faced, or that the organization has faced, maybe not you directly, but the organization has faced in helping to bring this to the forefront?
The number one challenge is NIMBY, NIMBY, not in my backyard. And the way that we started was this was an outreach of our founder, Eric Lovett. He was a senior pastor for a Disciples of Christ church in the North Park area of San Diego. And they did an outreach to homeless people that lived at the beach, and then started, they opened their community center to do a shelter, a drop-in shelter one night a week. So homeless youth could come in and take a shower, have a meal, get some community referrals, and so forth. And so they could, and right at that same time when Eric was beginning to create this organization, that's when divine connection allowed me to find him. And so that's how we connected. And so I've been around since the very, very beginning. But because it was a church, the community couldn't say, no, you can't do that. So you need a spiritual organization or a church or a synagogue or something to host and then build from there. But we had some NIMBY. I'm really concerned about the homeless. I wish them all the best, but not in my backyard.
Yeah.
And
And you're in downtown, I believe, correct? So how did you find the building you're in now? And I would imagine that as the program is continuing, you might need more space along the way as well. So how is the program continuing to grow?
So we started with 3 young people couch surfing at Eric's apartment. He quick rented a bigger apartment, and then another apartment, and then a house, and then another house. And here we are 13 years later. So this is I'm in a 5-story building in downtown San Diego that is owned by Father Joe's Villages, that was vacant for a couple of years. Eric found it and called them right quick and said, hey, we need this building. And so we were able to take a couple of floors and then another floor, and wound up pushing them all out. And so now all 5 floors are Urban Street Angels, as well as our location in East County, as well as our location opening in North County next month. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Wow. That's great work. As they say, that's heart work, not hard work, but heart work, because it takes heart to step into some of these situations, having had some experience with that. And sometimes you got to truly step in with prayers. And it people want to be recognized. They want to be valued. They want to be cared for. And if you can offer that kind of open armness, if you will, it begins to change things, I believe. And that's what we need to do with our teachings in every aspect and every foray that we can find.
And I'm reminded that sometimes you got to take time to go visit Disney too.
Every once in a while, you got to go up the road. Mickey and Minnie and Pooh Bear and all of them are I'm in San Diego, so Disneyland is about an hour and a half away. So dust off the annual pass every couple of months and head up Interstate 5 and go and frolic, because no matter what we're doing in our lives, as you all well know, we also got to have time for frolic.
Exactly. I believe I saw it on social media recently that you were just there with a group of kids.
I was there with a group of kids. It was so cool. We got to take, I think six youth and some number of staff members and me, and went. And of course, almost all the staff members had never been. None of the kids had been. So it was just the greatest thing to see the faces and see oh my goodness, and how fun is this? And it was just the greatest thing.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I got to go too. What's not to like, right?
Exactly. Yes. All right, folks, we're going to take another real quick break to say thank you to some of our organizational sponsors and individual donors. But we've got a little bit more with Dr. Jerry here, a couple more questions and our final thoughts. So we're not done yet. And we invite you to stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. Yes. Thank you to our organizational sponsors and individual donors. It's thanks to folks like you that we're able to bring you interviews like this and share more of what's happening in the New Thought world. Dr. Jerry, thank you so much for being with us today. Before we let you go, though, however, we always like to touch on it, and you did a little bit earlier, but it seems to me like you've got the trifecta handled here, right? Work on the individual level at the church level, working within the organizational level with Anton, and working at the societal level with Urban Street Angels. What more is there? What's left? What's next? How do you go beyond all of this within the New Thought movement?
What's next? So my intention is to continue to grow Anton. My intention is to continue to be out there reminding us of the truth of our being. And my intention is to be out there talking the talk and working toward making New Thought not the best kept secret. Because the truth is, when we talk to people, and I know it's been your experience as well, we're talking about what we believe, and they say, well, yeah, I believe that. Well, and the Bible said, Jesus said, it's done unto as you believe. Well, yeah, I believe that. I just didn't know what to call it. So Now, this is what you call it. And oh, by the way, there's this amazing community of CSL and independent religious science and unity and divine science that gathers, that you could go be part of that community. So I absolutely know that the trend toward staying home in my slippers and all the rest of that on Sunday mornings, yeah, that's fine, but I'm missing out on the richness of community. So continuing to work with you all and with everybody else in inviting people to come back with us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Z, I think it's time for our final thoughts. Why don't you kick us off here?
All right. I mean, I think, it's already been said, really, and I'll just echo it, at least one part of it. Build community, however it looks, but make sure that there's a in-person part, so you can begin to really embrace people and get to that next level of commitment and understanding and service. And I think if we can do that and let the virtual piece, as Rev was saying, and the in-person piece begin to do that two-step dance, things are going to blossom.
Beautiful. Thank you. Dr. Jerry, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Keep breathing. In these days, maybe like never before, we are invited, encouraged, and challenged to remember the truth of who we are.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Throughout today's conversation, I'm reminded of something that I asked a congregation to do this week on Sunday during a talk. I asked the congregation to spend the week journaling on one simple question: where am I called to get involved? And that is what I've heard today in this conversation, is that reminder that all the good we're doing in the world is only for ourselves until we get involved. And there's nothing wrong with those that need to focus on yourself first. There's nothing wrong with focusing in consciousness first. But I want to see a movement that moves. I want to see a movement that's moving and that's moving itself and moving the people around it. And so where do we get involved? And that's my invitation to you all as well out there, folks, is spend some time this week journaling. How do I feel called to get involved? Yeah. Dr. Jerry, again, thank you so much for being with us. I hope you can come back again.
Would love to. Thank you guys very, very much. Pleasure to be with you. Thanks everybody that joined us.
And it's a pleasure to have you. Brother Raymond, blessings and gratitude to you, sir. Everyone else, thanks for being with us. We'll be back again next week with more of New Thought Today here on the New Thought Media Network. Plan to join us 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Until then, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.